Okay, we're in Isaiah 6, chapter 6, verse 2. I'm going to read verse 1. In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, lofty and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. So he's in heaven, okay? And then verse 2, it says, Seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. So basically, you can't see what the seraphim looks like because he's covered up. Okay? And one called out to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundation of thresholds trembled at the voice of him who called out, while the temple was filling with smoke. Okay? So then Isaiah just goes on and says, Woe is me, because I'm unclean. Alright? But what we see here is this creature is called a seraphim. Well, if you go into the Hebrew, the Strong's Hebrew Concordance, the number for that is H8314, and it's a seraph, which means the definition under this says symbolic creature or a poisonous or fiery serpent. Well, that doesn't look too much like a poisonous or fiery serpent, so it's a symbolic creature. We don't know what it looks like because it's covered up. It's covered up because we're not meant to know at that point, back when Isaiah's day, what it's supposed to mean. Okay? So, anyway, the long and the short of it is this. As far as the 4 beasts are concerned, you have to make up your own mind, but we are in Matthew 11:11, given an example, or given precedent to say that there is a clear distinction between the Old Testament saints and the New Testament saints. At least I think it is, anyway. Let's look at Matthew 11:11. It says, Truly I say to you, this is Jesus talking, by the way, among those born of women there has not arisen anyone greater than John the Baptist. High praise comes from the man. Yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Uh-oh. So does that mean that John the Baptist is not going to be in the kingdom of heaven? That's what that says. Does that mean that he's not saved? I doubt it very seriously. And that's the reason that I say this right here that separates the Old Testament saints, New Testament saints. But when you look at the 4 creatures, the 4 beasts, are symbolic of, I think, the 4 divisions of the 12 tribes from Numbers, how it's set up. And to me, that makes a lot of sense because that gives them, that sets the precedent for them to be there in heaven, okay, if you will. And also, I think I forget what the verse is, Matthew 26 or something like that. It talks about that when Jesus is raised, that there are some dead that are come out of their graves and they wander around. And I personally think that's Sheol. Or in the Greek it's Hades. It's not hell. Hades or Sheol. And you can do a whole study on that. But anyway, I'm moving on now to get into the 24 elders. I think that's the second group that we're going to talk about here. So let's turn back over here to Revelations chapter 4 again. Okay. So in chapter 4, verse 4, we are introduced to the 24 elders. And around the throne were 24 thrones, and upon the thrones I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white garments, and golden crowns were on their head. Okay? So they're sitting on thrones, there's 24, they call them elders. They're sitting there, they're clothed in white garments, they got golden crowns on their head. So let's get into a little bit of the precedent behind where I think this is the 24 elders are the New Testament Christians from the rapture back. Okay? If we look at chapter 5, verse 8. Alright, and when you're taking the book, the 4 living creatures, this is when chapter 5 is where nobody's found worthy to open the scrolls, and Jesus comes forward and says, Yea, I am. And verse 7, he says, And they came and he took it out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. So Jesus is taking it from God the Father. And when you're taking the book, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell before him, fell down before the Lamb. And right here in the Byzantine Greek, it actually says the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. In the Textus Receptus, which is the King James of this, it says that each one of them would indicate the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders have heart, golden bowl full of incense. In the Byzantine, there's actually another, it says, after it says the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, it has a period, and then the 24 elders, each having a harp and golden bowl full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song, Okay, so there's a delineation between the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders. In the American Standard and NIV and all that, they just kind of run together. But if you look at the Greek, even in the Textus Receptus, which is the basis for that, and the King James, the how the wording is indicates the last group now talked about, which would be the 24 elders. Okay. Anyway, so let's hear the song that they sang. In verse 9, worthy art thou to take the book and to break its seals, for thou wast slain and did purchase for God with thy blood us, and that is not men, that's us, from every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and thou hast made us to be a kingdom, to be kings and priests to our God, and we will reign upon the earth. So that goes back to the King James, us and we. And again, that's the reason that I look at different translations, because each one of them has something a little bit different. And if you take the us and change it to them, then that would not apply to us, the New Testament saints. Okay? But the important thing is it's us. All right? This is saying, worthy art thou, because thou hast purchased us. All right? From every tribe, tongue, and people and nation. So that indicates that the 24 are a lot more than 24, because today, back then there was 70 nations. Today I think there's 120, something like that. So that's more than 24. Okay, so how am I putting that on this as being the New Testament saints? Well, let's back up a little bit here in the book, and I'll show you. If we turn over here to 1 Corinthians, for chapter 6. First Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2 and 3. Or do you not know that the saints, that's us, the New Testament saints, will judge the world? And if the world is judged by you, are you not competent to constitute the smallest law courts? Do you not know, this is verse 3, do you not know that we shall judge angels? How much more matters of this life? Basically what he's doing is, Paul is getting on their butt, because they're taking stuff to the secular courts and things like that, and not handling Christian matters inside of the church. Okay, so that's what he's rebuking them for, and he's also telling them that the saints are going to judge the world, and the saints are going to judge the angels. Okay, so there's judgment there, and we are going to be the one doing the judging. All right, let's look over here at Matthew 19, verse 28. Okay. And Jesus said to them, this is Matthew 19:28. Truly I say to you that you who have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man will sit on his glorious throne, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So So there's at least 12 judging the 12 tribes. So, I mean, to me, we've got 12 tribes judging Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. Wouldn't we have 12 thrones to judge the Gentiles, unbelievers? So, right there. We know we're going to have at least 12 from that one. Okay? And if we flip over here to Revelations chapter 20, I'm going to have to stop that. Let's move to the next one.